to the Infinity Bros podcast, the only podcast that's perfectly balanced as all things should be. I'm your host, Max Mosier, here today with one other Infinity Bro of our 6 Infinity Bro rotating cast. He is the man with every speculation under the sun. We love to talk about these Disney Plus shows. Talking today with me about Secret Invasion, it's Infinity Bro Mark. Mark, how are you?
I'm glad to be back. Had the dust off the good old Rolodex of speculation. For you younger folks, you're going to have to go Google that. That means. And then it won't be funny then either. So I'm glad to be back.
Half the people loved that reference. The other half hated that reference.
Scott giggled. That's what really matters.
Scott. Yeah, I love one listener named Scott that if this is your first time listening to it, like, who the heck's Scott? Yeah, he's out there. He's a Skrull. He's an inside Skrull. Mark, this one's been a long time coming for us. We have been talking about every Marvel show since WandaVision. I think people that have listened to us and known us for a long time know you and I for our WandaVision speculation that we got to joyfully experience during COVID when the world was on hiatus and you and I were just digging into the weeds, as we would say, and trying to figure out what the heck was going on in that show, only for most of our theories to not matter. I believe we will have a similar smorgasbord of speculation today, as I think this is the ultimate Mark and Max show in Secret Invasion on Disney Plus. What do you think?
One could say yes.
I was like, whoa, what clever thing is Mark going to say this time? But nope, it's just classic
just yes. He agrees.
He agrees. Very good, very good.
No, I love the speculation that's so like high up on this is like with WandaVision, we're like, who's Mephisto?
Yeah.
This one is like anybody could be a Skrull.
Yeah.
Like anybody. They could rickroll us and be like, oh, Nick Fury was a Skrull the whole time.
There are shows that are made for specific audiences, and there are shows that are made for specific genres, and there are properties that are made for specific podcasts. It is my belief that this show was made for Mark and Max to discuss week to week, and we're going to be doing that, I think, pretty much every week.
Daddy Feige made this for us.
I think he did. I really do. I really think he did. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into our complete spoiler review. So from this point on, you're going to want to expect spoilers because we have a Patreon pre-show. You can check that out in the link in the show notes. And we kind of danced around it. We didn't want to talk about it, but we're coming unglued. So this is going to be your official spoiler warning.
This is...
Prepare yourself.
An Infinity Bros.
Prepare yourself.
Spoiler. Warning.
And then if you're somebody who has never listened to us before, we want to make sure you're familiar with our rating system. It's not difficult, but here's our rating bumper.
Here on the Infinity Bros podcast, everything is ranked from a 0 to 6 point scale. 0 meaning horrible, and 6 meaning absolutely excellent. If all of the Infinity Bros rank something a 6, it gets an infinity step.
1 sentence synopsis. Nick Fury learns of a clandestine invasion of Earth by Skrulls. Stars Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Samuel L. Jackson has been in this thing since Iron Man 1, Mark. 2008.
Yeah, it's like... I was going to say, it's like 15 years ago.
This guy's...
No, is that long?
He's been there that long. Ben Mendelsohn returns as Talos. Kobe Smulders returns as Maria Hill. Olivia Colman joins the MCU as Sonya Falsworth. Martin Freeman has a special guest appearance in the first episode as Agent Everett Ross in the opening scene. Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones. Are you an Emilia Clarke fan, Mark?
Yeah.
You like her?
Yeah, she's...
Okay.
It's good people.
You're a Game of Thrones guy. That's why I'm asking.
I do find it odd that you cast her in such a, like, I wonder if Gaia's going to be a bigger role in the MCU. That's another thing where it's like, you cast kind of a bigger named actress and kind of like, okay, I guess we get to learn as a whole, like as the majority of the fan base who the Skrull is, so.
Sure, I think she's a double agent, but we'll find out. We'll talk about her later. Kingsley Ben Adir plays Gravik. Some people have been pronouncing it as Gravik, kind of on that pun, yada, yada, yada. And then Don Cheadle's Rhodey is in this as well. Richard Dormer is in the beginning of this episode as Agent Prescod. And then Dermot Mulroney is playing President Ritson. It's important to note, Mark, that Harrison Ford will be playing the President of the United States in the upcoming Captain America 4 movie.
Where are we in the timeline? that is what I was wondering.
What'd you say?
Where we are in the timeline.
I
Like,
do
how
have
many-
an answer for that.
Oh, give me it. Can
The
I?
answer of that is the events of Secret Invasion take place in the mid 2025s. This is after the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in the Marvel timeline.
But before the Thor: Love and Thunder.
I believe around the same time.
So that's post pretty much everything besides
Correct.
Ant-Man.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's
So that's
the
like
casting for
three
that.
years after Endgame, right?
Correct.
Hmm.
2 years. 2023 was when everybody came back.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yes. So that's our cast. We're going to go ahead and talk about our ratings. Mark, I will start with you. What's your rating of episode 1 entitled Resurrection of Secret Invasion?
I'd probably give it a good old 5.5 out of 6. It very much felt like a old timey, conspiracy war movie, or like I'm all for that. It's like that's one of my genres I love. So I'm ready to get disappointed potentially, but I'm all in until that happens, and I'm probably still in when that happens. So whatever. I'll take it.
I'm going to go lower than you, but I'm very pleased with this episode. I'm going to go 5.25. I am guarding my heart this series because I have been burned so many times on multiple shows, and I'm not going to name them. I just know that Marvel has a great track record of great first episodes. This is no exception. This is a great first episode. It does some incredible stuff. The spy espionage genre that they're going for is exactly what I'm here for. Samuel L. Jackson is tremendous. This actually, Mark, might be the best cast of any Disney Plus show they've put together to date. To get Olivia Colman, Amelia Clark, Don Cheadle, Martin Freeman, Kingsley Benadir, Ben Mendelsohn. These are just some powerhouse actors, and I like what they're doing. Zane and I were talking about this, and I think he kind of nailed it. Infinity Bro Zane.
Oh yeah, that guy.
He said that this is the first time in a Disney Plus Marvel show that he feels like the villain is actually worthy of fear. And I would say that about
he said TV
Gravik
show
in this. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Like in the Marvel shows, he's what he's saying.
Oh, Marvel. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. In the Marvel Disney Plus shows, this is the first time a villain can have fear. And I think that's fair to say about Gravik. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm expected to have my heart ripped out. I'm expected to have people that I thought were Skrulls not be Skrulls. I'm expecting people that I didn't expect to be Skrulls. And I'm hoping this shakes up the MCU moving forward, which is all people really want with these shows and movies. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get into this episode. Mark, let's jump kind of to the beginning of this episode and talk about the Everett Ross reveal.
Yeah, are we going to have a Skrull watch? Like, who's our Skrulls?
The official Skrull watch is on now for us. We've been talking about it, you and I, now I think for 3-4 years. And right out the gate, we get what I would say our fancies tickled as Agent Prescod is killed by who we think is Agent Everett Ross, who ends up being a Skrull, chased down by Talos himself. Gun pointed at him by Maria Hill. He said, Talos says he's one of them. And it comes to find out that this is a Skrull. Do you think that Everett Ross has been a Skrull this whole time?
Well, when we watch further on in this episode and we see when they take their hosts, it's kind of like, is that like a hint that like, hey, Everett Ross maybe recently got taken or has been a Skrull this whole time?
So this is a popular theory I've heard online. I'm not taking credit for this, but I am regurgitating it, and I do think it's interesting. At the end of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the post-credit scene, or it's the end credit scene, I forget exactly where this is in the movie, Okoye saves Ross. The theory that is going around is that the reason Okoye was so upset in this movie of losing her position in the Dora Milaje is because she was a Skrull and she's infiltrated Wakanda, and that's why she stayed tight with Everett Ross, and that's why Everett Ross was attempting to be tight with Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther T'Challa. Do you subscribe that Okoye could in fact be a Skrull?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Max. Haven't heard that one. I'm already all in. I already pushed in all my chips, and That makes total sense. See, that's the conspiracy stuff where it's like it just makes sense.
And they put it in for some reason, right?
Yeah, I mean that's like the little like I hope. I know we've talked about this too in the past. I hope when the MCU's all done, Kevin Feige's put a cherry on top and be like, okay, we're done. He then he just gives, here's the documentary I made. It's a 4-hour documentary and how I did everything, and then we hear that, and then we look at each other and we giggle.
Every single movie, you and I have a popular segment that we call Scroll Watch, where pretty much every movie we have somebody designated that we're like, that person's a Skrull. We think that person's making suspicious decisions. So, for example, in the newest Doctor Strange movie, I was on the record of saying Wong is either the worst Sorcerer Supreme of all time or he's a Skrull. I stand by that. And I really think he hasn't done any major spells. We didn't see him do any major spells. We just saw him kind of go on vacation with the sling ring last movie.
And then we go with like She-Hulk that like gives more credence to that theory because he just seems so lazy and just like watches movies.
Yeah, he just wants to stay connected with everybody. What kind of Skrull doesn't want to do that? And then you have M'Baku in the last movie who's eating meat strips. He's a vegetarian. He's retreating as their country and people have been beaten up.
It's the little dusting, that little details of the he's eating meat, but he's supposed to be a vegetarian. What?
Absolutely insane to see Okoye and M'Baku both be Skrulls.
It's just like who was it? The Doctors, or was it the Ultron? Where after Captain Marvel came out, then people went back because Nick Fury says he doesn't cut his sandwiches into triangles.
Sure doesn't.
And then in Ultron he does.
Yep.
And then people went back and be like, oh my gosh, so like back to is our Nick Fury that we're currently watching in Secret Invasion a Skrull.
Well, let me get to this real quick. So Nick Fury comes back to Earth. He's greeted by Maria Hill, and he's greeted by Talos. And him and Talos have this intimate moment where they put their heads together, and you sense the 20 years they've had, because this is 20 years old. They've had a ton of time working together. We also know in Spider-Man Far From Home that at the end of that Nick Fury and Maria Hill were revealed to be Talos and his wife, who is revealed in this scene to be deceased.
But revealed to his daughter, who wouldn't know.
And the husband and Talos.
Well, that's what Talos says.
Yeah.
So after my second rewatch of the show, that scene made me think, is his wife Nick Fury?
I thought the same thing, Mark.
Look at us. Who would have thought?
What if Nick Fury's the one that's been killed this whole time? Or if he's still up there, and the reason he's kind of a half step behind everybody is because Nick Fury is coaching Talos' wife, and Talos needed motivation to go the distance. I think we're going to find out around episode 3 that she's really there. Talos is going to lose his marbles, and he's going to go to the opposite side. And now he's going to be a big bad again. Because Ben Mendelsohn can do that. I think that's, I guess I'm not going to put all my chips in on that theory. But I will say that, like, Ben Mendelsohn's going to be taken off the board in some capacity in this. Because this has to be Nick Fury versus the world. This has to be that.
And I think, is it Jaya?
Gaia.
His daughter? Gaia, thank you. That made me think with like casting her, she's got to take over as like our main good guy Skrull.
I agree.
So
she has to
be. I don't know if he'll become the bad guy. I thought about that in this episode because of the scene where he's like, I told you not to interfere or whatever. Or he'll end up dying because he doesn't go all the way.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if Nick Fury was his wife too. I'm not 100% subscribed to it, but I definitely, when I first watched it, I thought the same thing. I was like, okay, that's super intimate. Are they trying to play this up?
It just seemed out of character for Nick Fury. It
did, and they're next to Maria Hill. And for me, when I watched this until the very end, we'll get to that in a bit.
We're going to be revealed in episode 2 is she's going to be a Skrull. She's going to turn into a Skrull.
I was expecting her to be a Skrull at the end, and she wasn't. And so...
Well, because we didn't see the end. We just saw the end of the episode.
In these kinds of shows and movies, you could always get a flashback where it's revealed she's a Skrull and her body gets taken away, and then all of a sudden you have Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. 2, right? Like... You definitely can do those things. I'm not subscribing to that. I think Maria Hill is dead. So Nick Fury returns to Earth. He meets up with Talos. They do have that head sign of intimacy, which, again, we saw in Captain Marvel. We saw Talos do that to people he loves. Now, it could just be a sign of affection to Fury,
Like
but I think it is worth noting.
It's just a human and Skrull thing too.
Yep, it could definitely be.
We could be reading into it too much. Whatever.
You and I reading into it too much? No way. Don't lie to me.
Impossible.
Fury goes and gets captured by Olivia Colman's character and has this interesting conversation where this is the second time in this episode where Fury is told, you're too old, you're not ready for this fight, the blip changed you, yada, 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 you're not going to do it, you're pathetic, you're weak. And we're obviously setting up a hero arc for Nick Fury in this show, or whoever is being a Skrull of Nick Fury. And what's interesting about this scene that comes back later is all the people he sees in the street or at the bar, these are all people that come back in that final scene with Gravik. Gravik changes his appearance to look like all the people that Fury has witnessed across the board. So in the scene when he's going out in the back alley, there's a little girl, then there's a couple going on a date. Those same people pop back up, essentially showing that Gravik's been there the entire time. So then we get to the other area where Kinsley Ben Nadir is created a base for, I forget the name of what they called it, Skrullos, I think is what they called it. A Skrull council has been created, and he's used this to create at a nuclear facility because it doesn't affect, the radiation doesn't affect Skrulls. We come to find out through Fury in the previous conversation that it is their goal to start an all-out nuclear war and take ownership of Earth, which is like, not gonna lie to you, Mark, another moment where Marvel has really captured time very well. There's just some eerie, true historic plot points.
Remember, apparently the original like bad thing that was going to happen in Falcon Winter Soldier was it was supposed to be a virus that was supposed to be spread across.
I do.
So
they were on top of it.
Yeah, they know what's up.
And of course the Russians are the bad guys, and that's, really popular to say right now. So we get introduced to this character through Gaia. Gaia welcomes this new character played by Samuel Adewumi. His name's Beto, and he has this kind of goofy, weird-looking fruit thing. She shows him around the compound. It's revealed that the longer you are in human form as a Skrull, the less likely you are to be detected. I don't know if that means there's a technology that humans can detect them with, or if it's just harder for them to let up because their memories kind of worked through with their own memories. There's this really unique dynamic that I think the show has an opportunity to take advantage of in what's it like to be a person in a different person's skin for long periods of time. So I've heard a lot of people reference The Americans from FX. It's a similar kind of vibe to that show, which has been a really popular show of these Russian spies in America. And I hope they play with that more. You didn't get a ton of that here, but you get this enigma in Gaia. What is your take on her as a character in this first episode? Do you think she's a good guy, bad guy, double agent? Where are you standing with her, especially now that she knows that her mom's dead, but she clearly believes in this cause because she's bringing people in?
I don't know if she's a double agent, but I think that comment that Talos makes to her about her mom being dead is definitely the game changer to make her probably think, maybe I shouldn't be a bad guy or on the bad side. I don't know. Because, who is she a double agent for, then? If she's a double agent. That'd be the other big question.
But this is the kind of show where there could be a third party of people and we just don't know about them yet.
It could be Thunderbolt Ross.
It could be Dave Fontaine, right?
To go into those weeds, we could find out that the American president is a Skrull. Thunderbolt Ross takes over, so there's no election for it. He just takes over as the president.
I think it's pretty safe to say that if Rhodey isn't a Skrull, the president is a Skrull. And I think Rhodey has been...
imagine? And then we just get flashbacks that Rhodey's been a Skrull since day one. Do you think they CGI him into the first Iron Man if they do that?
Maybe they might. Mark, I'll be frank with you. I think Rhodey... If Rhodey is not a Skrull, that will shock me more than if he is a Skrull. He feels like the easiest Avenger to pick as a Skrull at this point.
Well, yeah, because he's not... I don't know. I mean, I love Don Cheadle, but you're right. It's just he's not... he's not the OG Avenger, but he's, 1A. or 1B in a sense. So like it's an easy pick. It'd be pretty. I think the fans wouldn't like it if you did like Captain America or Thor or someone like that. But.
I think it'd be fun to see Don Cheadle lead an army of Skrulls. I think that'd be fun. I think it'd give him an opportunity to work his chops more.
Well, we get a little bit in the preview for the show that Gravik is like a super Skrull because he's able to like manipulate his arm.
Yep, we've seen in the clips that he's doing what Groot does. It'll be interesting to see how they talk about that. Fury uses a bug to eavesdrop on the Prime Minister and Olivia Colman's character.
Skrull.
And they locate another rebel who they fight. And this is an interesting scene because Talos now gets revealed to be old. He fights this Skrull. The Skrull is overpowering him, and then Fury shoots him. And I loved you get one lie, the set, nobody gets two lies. I loved that. I thought that was just classic Nick Fury. That's to me what leads me to go, okay, he's probably not a Skrull, because I just feel like the way he's talking, I'm like, I think this is the real Nick Fury. I really do. And I think he's going to have to overcome some things. I think there will be moments like at the end of the episode where somebody else is being Nick Fury, but I think this is Nick Fury for the sake of the show.
I think I could subscribe to that where both Nick, if we get, well, besides the Gravik Nick Fury.
Sure.
I would subscribe if like Talos' wife is a Nick Fury that's being coached by the Nick Fury. So like it's not like our Nick Fury's been trapped for the last 15 years, but because there could be a case where, because they don't mention that he gets blipped, they just said he was just gone after the blip. If you remember, unless I heard that wrong.
It's
so
funny
did someone take over as Nick Fury, or just like no one was like, oh yeah, he blipped.
Yeah, I think that will get explained in this show. I love what they're doing with the blip here, Mark. This is exactly what they've needed to do in every show. You need to talk about the consequences of that thing. That's the unifying moment for every character. You've got Eternals. You've got raccoons out in space. You need a unifying thing here, and this blip is it. And I'm shocked that, especially in 2023, with how much people talk about mental health, and mental health is just a popular thing. I'm shocked that these writers haven't taken more time to, let's have a scene to talk about this, I'm shocked about that. And I like what they're doing here. I like that they're saying,
well, they did an Endgame with the the AA type style meeting.
Yeah.
With Captain America, who then lied to everybody to move on because he's a scumbag, because he's a Skrull too.
Well, it's one of the best scenes in the show, and I think you're being a little dramatic and drastic, and I think you need to get over it.
Yeah. It's all moving on until you figure out you have a time machine.
You got to move on unless you have a time machine. We talked about Guy and Talos having that conversation, but Talos did make a claim that Gravik killed her mother, Soren. I do want to backtrack on one thing real quick, and it's these fracking pods. So we watch a scene where a Skrull turns into another person. They get put in the fracking pod. It's very similar to what Captain Marvel experienced in her
They're not
movie.
people. They're hosts to them. Remember that.
Whatever, host to them. Yeah, anyway.
Well, it's demeaning. Like, that's the whole concept. Like, this group of people
like
don't...
Animorphs, yeah. Sure.
No, it's not that. They, like, the whole concept of, like, this sect of Skrulls do not value human life.
They don't. No, you're right. And they've
like, that's what gives more credence to what Zane said. It's like, they're dangerous.
They're dangerous, and they're mad because for 20 years, Nick Fury has promised to get them a home, and for some reason, he hasn't been able to do it. I think this show will reveal why that is. At least I hope. I hope that this show gives some explanation for, like, Nick Fury tried for 20 years to do this, and here's why it did or didn't work. And Captain Marvel promised to do it, and she's been doing garbage too. I hope she has some consequences to this as much as Nick Fury does. I'm also hoping the Marvels deals with it, but that's neither here nor there. But the fracking pods, getting back to that, they're stealing their memories, Mark.
I got a time out on that because you just brought up the Marvels. Is their movie this November, right?
Their movie is this November.
All right. Well, maybe we get Marvel stuff. I'm all for that too.
I'm all for that too. So let's talk about
hang on. Now we're getting to the weeds here. Now you go for
it. Nope, please do. No,
because in that trailer, Nick Fury's in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Marvels are showing up in this. Like now I'm I can just hear some of our listeners be like, "You guys are putting too much credence. It's gonna ruin the ending if they don't show up." But they gotta show up now.
I think this is like a post-credit scene. Like I'm looking at last episode being a post-credit scene, but we'll see.
And just one of them. I don't need all three. Just at least one.
You need Captain Marvel in it.
Yeah, that's
she's already on Earth. I mean, what's to say we don't get a scene of her like coming out of the house of Kamala Khan and
Well, they're also in space, so oh, why am I blanking on her name? Photon. She could be in that.
Rambo.
Rambo could be in that space station that they're building.
Yeah, she definitely could be in the Saber facility. Okay, finally, let's get to the the memories here.
Yeah, bring me back in. Bring me back in.
This is a really big deal because not only can Skrulls replace people, they can replace their memories. So it's difficult in the comics. It was kind of like that technology was a little more difficult to execute depending on when you read about Skrulls. Like if you dated all the way back to the beginning with Fantastic Four, they weren't able to do that. But then at the end in the Secret Invasion storyline, which the director has not read, don't like that, but there's new technology that even Tony Stark and Mr. Fantastic, these guys can't detect this, and all of their key people in their corners, many of them, Spider-Woman, Jarvis, they get taken over and are replaced with Skrulls. These fracking pods, I got to tell you, Mark, and there's a trailer scene where you can see a big warehouse of them.
Yeah.
There's got to be somebody big in this warehouse down the line, right? It's either got to be like the president, Don Cheadle, maybe another Avenger, maybe a lower level Avenger. I'm hoping somebody from Wakanda. I don't know, but I'm saying to you, this is a huge game changer. And how are they going to detect this? They're painting themselves into a big corner here.
Well, it's just like go back to the Peacemaker series. That's kind of what they did.
Sure.
With their bad guys. But different that they lived in their hosts. This one,
Sure.
I guarantee you don't do this and not have some main players. At least one. Or like you said, like Wakanda people, or like even what was Namor's people called? Like one of them even too.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be wild. And like I think we're supposed to leave this series just untrusting of everything we've seen before.
Yeah, and then we get the final scene, which builds the level of distrust is through the roof after this. They find the plan to get these dirty bombs at this Unity Day happening in Moscow. They mark the bomb's location, so Gaia does it with this infrared technology. Fury Hill and Talos try to discover the locations, but they discover their decoys. This is the scene where I referenced earlier where Gravik plays all these different characters to lure Fury towards him, and then he impersonates Fury to shoot Maria Hill, and Maria Hill is killed in the very first episode of this show. We get Ross and Maria Hill dead in a 50-minute span. Basically, two of the top agents in this show. Now, Ross could technically still be out there, but that's a very, very big deal. And I just want to say for the MCU, the big piece of feedback they get a lot of the time is that they don't take risks. Unless these bodies are life model decoys, which is a very real possibility in this show, I really respect these choices, and I really respect the Maria Hill death. What do you think?
Until we see the next episode that she's really dead, I have no feeling for it. Because like right now my mind's like she's a darn Skrull, and Nick Fury's gonna be like, I can't trust anybody. And I think that will throw a fissure between him and Talos, because he's like, I can't do this. I can't be able to tell who's who. So
Sure.
I think it is bold if they really just killed Maria Hill, or like another character that's been like here almost since day one. It's just like, damn, like, yeah, no, like if they like, besides your main players, pretty much any like 1B, 1C like characters are just like not safe to be killed, or just stay alive, I guess I should say.
Sure. No, I think that's a really fair point. I think both of us gave really strong ratings for these shows. I think both of us are also coming in like, hey, Marvel, you got to prove some stuff here. You can't just rest on one show like you have. Where do you see this going from here, Mark? Because for me, I think the Marvels gives us kind of a plan of like, I think Fury lives, but at what cost? And I'm just trying to wrap my head around what that could be.
I don't know. I think we might leave this. I know Robbie would be upset if Gravik ends up being killed at the end of this series. But yeah, I'm really like at a conundrum of like what does happen. Because like, do we end it where like, oh, Skrulls are no more, but then that was it? 6 episodes with Secret Invasion and that's it? Or are we going to be led? Or I go back to like that 2010 animated series that was on Disney, where they basically showed us Captain America became a Skrull, and then basically never talked about it. But literally, you kind of forgot that, oh, this Captain America we've been seeing for the last 10 episodes is actually a Skrull. Like, is that something we're gonna get where we're gonna be left that one Avenger is a Skrull, and we're just gonna follow that person being a Skrull for another 5 movies or 3 shows, and just be like, when are they gonna address this dude's a Skrull, and just like, and we're just gonna forget about it.
Well, and it plays in the multiverse, right? It plays when you get to a multiverse setting and say these heroes get recruited and this scroll is like, I'm way over my head and people think I am somebody that I'm not. And then that team has distrust in a really high tension situation. I think that could create some great storytelling if the right actor was chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about a potential spoiler here. So I'm going to call this Little Bits. We're going to close the show out with this. So if you do not want to potentially be spoiled, I think this is potentially a very big spoiler.
Does Nick Cage show up?
I'm going to go ahead and just put that there. Thank you for listening. We're going to end with this one. But yeah, I want to give you a heads up of this is a very real possibility coming in. But I want to talk with you, Mark, about this. So I'm going to go ahead and give you 2 more seconds to bow out. All right, Mark. It is rumored right now that Daisy Johnson, Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., is going to make an appearance in this show as Nick Fury's ace in the hole. And this will be the ultimate connecting piece and connecting tissue fabric for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to come back into the fold and potentially even join Saber or other entities in the Marvel Universe. Maybe not connect all the stories from Agents of
like
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Inhuman Quake? Like
The Inhuman Quake herself. That is a rumor happening right now of Daisy Johnson. Do you subscribe to that? What are your thoughts around that as you hear it? What would that be like if it happened?
Man, it'd be a big pull. It's just some loyal fans that watched all those seasons to bring her back in. And like, are we like at what season are we cutting off? That's no longer canon.
My gut tells me this is going to be similar to the Matt Murdock situation. How it's not all canon per se, but if you watched it, you'll be rewarded. And I'm just getting the sense that that's the direction they're going to go with.
Do you think we get reference to Agent Coulson if she shows up? Because like that's another thing. It's like,
great question.
Like Nick Fury is not going to once mention Agent Coulson during this time. Like I want some like we'll talk about him if we're going to bring in Quake.
It's a multiverse, right? So like, who's to say that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show is a different universe where like Loki, something that happened in Loki's universe was that universe, right?
Well, maybe, but like in that series, they have Nick Fury in their first episode to be like, "Yep, this is canon." So
I think they can fudge the rules here with the multiverse. This has just been a very popular rumor going around, and I don't know. This is one of those rumors I don't know if I believe it, because I agree with you. I'm like, okay, how are you going to explain that? And additionally, you got to get that actress in, and then additionally, are we confusing people by bringing all these other movies and properties in that didn't work, air quotes? Like, are we confusing the general audience? Like,
7
like the Kellys.
seasons, I would say wouldn't be. Yes, it would. Kelly would be like, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
so,
is your wife Kelly gonna walk in seeing this person? You're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, that's cool that they brought her back," but she's gonna go, "What the heck?" Like, is that too big of a risk, or at this point, is it just expected that you have to have some knowledge going into this?
I think it's a mixed bag of both. I think your people who are watching on Disney Plus are your fans that are going to understand. I strongly believe that I think you're very less your casual fans watching on Disney Plus. People who are coming to Disney Plus to watch these shows know what's going on for the most part. It'd be different if it was like a movie where she shows up. But I think the big implication to this is if like she does show up, it's like, okay, there's also now Inhumans that we're confirming are in here if she has her powers.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that could give credence to Gravik having powers if it's not Groot powers. But then you got to explain to me like why does he have Groot powers?
Well, I think
unless they're Dr. Fantastic powers,
Skrull.
And that's what you're telling us that the Fantastic Four are in their chamber pods or whatever, or whatever they call them.
the negative zone. Yeah, I think
Do you think that's where they're keeping them? Is in the
I think
negative
they're
zone?
in the negative zone. I really do.
No. I'm talking about the people that they're keeping their hosts, where that big warehouse is. Do you think that's
Oh yeah,
in the
I do.
negative
I
zone?
think they're all being kept there, and I think there's
in the
gonna be a
negative zone.
revelation.
Like, you really think we're going to go to the negative zone in
Oh
the
no,
series?
you're talking about a Fantastic Four. I'm sorry. I thought you were asking where the Fantastic Four were. Forgive me, I misheard you.
Oh no, like my thing was Fantastic Four or one of their hosts, and that's why we haven't seen them, and that's
Sure.
why he had these powers. But that, yes, the Fantastic Four in this universe, they're not going to be multiverse people. They have to be negative zone people. So.
Yeah, they have to be in the negative zone for sure. Negative zone's its own thing, especially after Quantum Mania's wackadoodle performance. I think the negative zone is a much needed answer to this. Yeah, no, I just think there's a lot that could happen here, Mark. I do echo that. I think Gravik will be a Super Skrull. I'm not necessarily dismissing that Daisy Johnson could be in this show, but it would be a big swing that is going to be a reference to another Marvel show. And I just get the sense with everything that Marvel's doing that Kevin Feige wants to put it all in one big soup. I think he just wants every single Marvel character in there. I think he does want the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., at least the big players in that show, to be in this. I think he wants them in it at the end. And I think this is the way to do it, is by...
Are you saying that this is going to slingshot to Secret Wars?
I mean, it could. So here's the difference. There's a difference between Secret Wars and Secret War. Secret War is where Nick Fury sends a group of Avengers over to Latveria to fight a war. And Daisy Johnson's one of those people. I think that's a
right.
comic worth noting.
Yes,
in
Secret
this.
War.
I think that's a comic, and I think that's a comic that definitely could play a factor in this story, which is why I think there is credence to her being in the show. Do I think they'll do it? I'm not sold on it. I think it's a wacky rumor. This is one of those rumors that I love because I'm like, it's a coin flip to me. I could see it going either way. I just had to throw that out there for our audience that loves our pontifications. So we're closing in on the 45-minute mark.
Do you think
Mark.
one last question for you? Do you think we get another main player in here, and who do you think that would be? If you could guess one or two people, who do you think they might throw in here to tease us? Whether it's a Skrull reveal or just someone to help out Nick Fury, if he does call in someone. And besides the Marvels, because that's kind of an easy one.
I don't think he's calling in the Marvels. I think Thunderbolt Ross or Dave Fontaine are two worthy candidates, especially if she finds out that Everett Ross is dead and she's like, oh, he's a Skrull. I just foresee those two being kind of people that he might look to. He might not be thrilled that he does it, but he might have to do that. And this is the kind of show that we're going to see Nick Fury, in my opinion, go to the ends of the earth to change, to right what's wrong, to make up for the sins of the past, the 20 years of not getting these Skrulls to where they are. And I really hope that Captain Marvel gets to experience this. Like, I hope in the Marvels, they spend some time talking about how she tried to clean everything up from the blip and she couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really hope they do that. It's going to be a missed opportunity if they don't. And if she doesn't get some blame in this, that's going to be a problem to me. I don't think Nick Fury deserves all the blame, but that's just like, from my perspective, I guess I can't change the motivations of characters. So, it is what it is. Secret Invasion, check it out on Disney Plus. I do recommend this show. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to the second episode this coming Wednesday.
Can't wait.
I can't wait. So, Mark, thank you for coming by and being on today.
It's glad to be back. Glad to be in the weeds. And I can't wait until we record next time for episode 2.
It's going to be great. And, yeah. So, thank you, Infinity Bros Universe, wherever you listen to us. However you listen to us, thanks for making this part of the podcast experience. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. All these links are in the show notes below. Just go ahead and click them. Join our Discord. Check us out on TikTok. If you're into Twitch, check that out. We're all over the board. We want to serve you in giving you the best possible content. We'll see you guys next week for episode 2 of Secret Invasion. As always, we love you guys 3000. See ya. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infinity Bros podcast. You can find the Infinity Bros on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at the Infinity Bros. Feel free to send listener feedback via email at infinitybrospodcast@gmail.com.